Welcome back to the Bradley Health Coaching channel, everybody. If you're here today, I can only assume that you want to learn how to build muscle while going through all of the crazy hormone changes that happen in perimenopause and menopause. And if you're already looking into how to build more muscle, you're in a great spot already. Because muscle is the cornerstone of health. In my opinion, muscle controls so much of what goes on with your body as you age, as you lose muscle, and maybe as you gain fat. And since you're here, you probably want to stop that from happening. Today, I'm going to explain to you how you can build muscle to lose more fat, even in menopause. This still can happen. Now, if you're here, you're probably here for one of two reasons. First reason is you heard you need to build muscle for better health and longevity. The other is you heard you need to build muscle to lose more fat. Both of these things are true, and both of these things can happen at the same time. Either way, you're in the right place. Now I'm going to go over a few of the basic principles that apply to muscle growth, but are especially important as your hormones start changing through perimenopause and menopause. But first, let's understand a little bit about why muscle is so important. Now, the first thing is muscle helps your metabolism. It helps you actually lose more fat. It's going to help your metabolic health to help regulate a lot of those hormones that start shifting as you lose estrogen and you're going through all the hormone changes that come with aging and menopause. As you burn more fat by building more muscle, you're going to love the way you look a lot sooner than if you just were to lose weight. And then with that better metabolic health comes better blood markers, better longevity, and you'll feel great in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and as far as you really want to take it or can. Because if you want to be around for your kids, for your grandkids for years to come, muscle is going to help you do that. So you can get on the ground and play with them, take them to the park, swim with them, whatever it is, you're going to be able to do that the more muscle you have and the stronger you are. Now, as you age, something happens naturally called sarcopenia, which is just the degradation of muscle. This happens to pretty much everybody. As that muscle degrades, it starts getting replaced with fat. So as your muscle gets smaller, you can get a little bit fattier muscles. That's going to cause a lot of issues. And we're seeing it in younger and younger generations because people are losing muscle so rapidly from not exercising, from being obese, from being overweight. But this can be avoided, especially at such a pivotal time in your life going through these hormone changes. So now that you understand why building muscle is so important and why you actually need to focus on that at this stage in life, let's get into a little bit of how to actually do that. The first thing that you need to understand is that currently, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you've off and on for years been trying to lose weight or dieting, you've got to stop dieting. It is the exact opposite of what you really should be doing. Because if you've been trying to lose weight for years and now you're going through these hormone changes and maybe you have a little bit more weight in your midsection, this is your real goal. You want to lose that fat. And dieting seems like the only logical solution because that's what you've been told to do for such a long time. That's what you've done in the past, and the weight's kind of come off, but then it kind of comes back. And now you're kind of stuck because you're dieting, you're not eating very much, you feel like you're eating less and less, and now nothing's happening. If that's the case, you need to do the opposite of dieting. We need to build some muscle. We need to increase your metabolic health, speed up your metabolism in order to lose that fat. But to build muscle, we cannot be in a caloric deficit, which is what usually happens when someone's dieting. You're not eating enough food, therefore you start losing weight. But to build more muscle, we have to understand that calorie balance a little better. You have to eat more food to fuel your body the right way. Tearing down muscle or losing muscle actually happens when you're in this caloric deficit, especially if you're not strength training, so your muscle has no reason to be there. Your body's smart. So if you're in a time of scarcity, your body thinks at least that you're in a time of scarcity. It's going to break down something that's not going to help feed it later. So it's not going to break down fat. It's going to break down muscle, because the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn day to day. So your muscle thinks we can't burn this many calories to survive, so let's pare down the thing that's burning all these calories, which is muscle. So by eating too little, you're actually doing the opposite of what you want to do. Even if you want to lose fat at the same time, it's not really gonna happen. If you're trying to lose fat and build muscle at the same time in perimenopause and menopause, it's gonna be like trying to turn left and right at the same time in a car. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen, and it can happen for some people. It is possible for some people. For 99% of the population, it's not. So we need to eat more food starting out to build muscle. You got to get those calories up. And there's a thing called maintenance calories. If you haven't heard of that before, it's essentially when you don't gain or lose weight. You can eat at maintenance calories and see some muscle growth, but you're going to actually see better muscle growth by eating more calories than your maintenance. And then maintenance calories are going to look different for everybody. So you actually have to calculate or get somebody to calculate it for you. The online calculators aren't great. So if you want to talk about calculating your calories, drop a comment or send me a message and I can help you do that. Talking about food still, let's get into a little bit of the other things that go along with calories, being macros, specifically protein and carbohydrates. The first thing I'm going to say is carbs are not your enemy. Carbs are not bad for you, especially as your hormones start changing and you enter into menopause. Carbs are such a great source of food and energy. Your muscles love carbs. Your muscles actually store glucose, which is what you get when you break down a carbohydrate. In fact, they thrive on carbs. If you put carbs in your body and you have more muscle, your muscle can store the glucose and use it for later. By making sure you're eating enough carbs while you strength train, you're going to do a few different things for your body. One, it's going to help you fuel your muscles. It's going to help keep energy stable and steady throughout the day. You can eat carbs post-workout while your muscles are pretty much screaming for that fuel that they really need. The glucose, the sugar is going to easily be able to go in there, store, refuel your muscles, and by doing this and building the muscle by feeding it glucose, it's actually going to help with insulin resistance and sensitivities. So eat your carbs. Please add carbs back into your diet if you don't have them. Next macronutrient, protein, which most people have probably heard of. You've probably heard that you need to eat more protein in order to build muscle and lose fat, which is extremely true. Protein is super, super important. Every piece of your body, every structural piece of your body is built by protein, especially your muscles. Which is another reason why we can't diet, because if you need enough protein, you have to eat more food. And protein is the building block of muscle. The amino acids that are in protein are essential to repairing the muscle tissue that gets broken down during the strength training. So please, please, please eat enough protein, and it's probably going to be more protein than you think, at least 30 grams each meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I'm saying push up to 100, 110, 120 grams, depending on how much you weigh. If you want to know exactly how much you should be eating and how to get more food, I have something that's going to help you literally this afternoon, today, tomorrow, whenever it is. My ultimate guide to protein, I give away for free to everybody. I've been told it's super duper helpful to getting your protein in each day, and I think it is, but I'm a little biased. If you want my ultimate guide on protein intake, it's going to tell you how much protein you should be eating based on your body weight, and then give you recipes that are super high in protein, super tasty, and tell you all the foods that are low calorie, lean, have a ton of protein in them, and are going to help you hit your goals day to day. If you want that, the link is in the description to download it. The best way to actually build muscle is probably by workouts that you haven't done before, or you're scared of, because I know a lot of women going through this phase of life have never really lifted weights before, and you don't have to lift weights. I'll get into that in a second. Now, what you should not be doing: HIIT workouts, cardio, lots of group classes, yoga, running. All of these things are great in their own right, in their own respective fields, but to build muscle, you really, really need to be strength training, resistance training. Now, this can look different for everybody. You don't have to go to the gym and pump iron for an hour, 5-6 days a week. That's not what it has to look like. You can start seeing results 2-3 days a week, 15-20 minutes at home, especially if you've never done any sort of exercise like this before. So starting where you're at is super important. This could be with bands, with body weight, with some small free weights at home. And then once you get better at that, you need to push the weight up. You can't just do the same weights over and over, because your body needs to adapt to that extra weight, continuously moving up and up and up in weight to build enough muscle. Because what's actually happening is your muscles are adapting to that extra weight. So if you're staying at the same weight, you're not going to build muscle. You need to do what's called progressive overload, which means if you do 10 pounds this week, 10 pounds next week, let's push it up to 15 the week after, and then 20, and then 25, and then kind of stay there for a while, and then go up to 30, and do what you need to do in the right timing, because your muscles are going to feed off of that strength adaptation. So don't think you need to go into the gym and go super hard the first day, because all you have to do is start where you are, 2-3 exercises if you need to, maybe 5 or 6, 20 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. It depends on your experience level and what you're really comfortable with. I promise you, it gets easier and easier the more you do it. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is that the muscle building does not come during the exercise. The muscle building comes during the recovery. Whenever you're strength training, you're doing push-ups, let's just say you're doing push-ups. You're breaking down the muscle in your arms, in your chest, in your biceps, in your triceps. You're breaking that muscle down in slight micro tears. Now, it sounds painful, but it's not. The breakdown of the muscle is important. You need to break it down, but the growth comes in the 24 hours after your exercise, in the recovery. So that's going to be like sleep, eating enough protein, eating enough food to fuel your muscles, eating enough carbohydrates to fuel your muscles, drinking enough water, The recovery is the most important part in building your muscles. If you aren't recovering properly, you're just tearing your muscles down. They're not recovering like they need to. You're going to get more tired and more tired and more tired until you have to take a break, and then you have to restart the whole process. You need to recover properly. One of the big things here is controlling cortisol. So making sure you're having breakfast so your cortisol's not spiking in the morning. Make sure you're controlling your carb intake so that your blood sugar is spiking, and then your stress is spiking, and then your cortisol is spiking. Getting enough quality sleep, again. Eating enough food, again, super important to controlling your recovery, to controlling your hormones, so you can actually have that recovery and build that muscle. Those are the biggest pillars I use with my clients in order to build the muscle they need to and want to build going through perimenopause and menopause. Now, these can apply to pretty much everybody, but they're even more important as you hit that age range, as your hormones start changing. So making sure you're getting these 4 big pillars in is super important. To recap, eat enough food, focus on protein and carbohydrates, make sure you're recovering, and actually resistance train. Don't do, HIIT, cardio, running, whatever it is. Now again, if you want help with your nutrition, with hitting those protein targets, I have the Ultimate Guide to Protein. It's in the description, super helpful. You should go download that if you don't have a clue how to hit your protein goals. I hope this video was super helpful. I hope you're able to start building some muscle to see the fat loss you want to see and the longevity you want to see. And if you like this one, maybe you should subscribe. I have a video every Sunday helping women over 40 going through perimenopause and menopause see the fat loss and success with their health that they want to see. Hope to see you at the next video.